Many of us, even after achieving everything society deems as success, a beautiful home, financial security, or an ideal life partner, still feel empty and unfulfilled. We grow up believing that happiness is a destination at the end of the road of effort, that if we work hard, save enough money, buy a house, start a family, and live a stable life, happiness will naturally follow. However, reality isn't so simple. There are people who seem to have everything, yet still live with anxiety, loneliness, or emotional voids. They ask themselves, why am I not happy, even though I have it all? The answer may lie in how we define happiness. When we tie happiness to external things, wealth, status, or relationships, we make it fragile, easily shaken when those things change. True happiness is not a destination, but a state of being. It comes from our ability to feel and appreciate the small things in the present. Having more doesn't guarantee joy, but appreciating what we already have, that is the foundation of lasting happiness. In a small village by the forest, three brothers, Roshan, Sami, and Dami, lived together in a modest wooden house inherited from their parents. Though their life was humble, it was peaceful. Each day, they would chop wood in the forest and bring it to the market to sell. Villagers loved them for their honesty, hard work, and readiness to help others. Yet deep inside, all three felt an unnamed emptiness, as if something vital was missing, something their daily toil couldn't fill. One evening, as they sat around the fire, Roshan spoke with a thoughtful voice. I don't know why, but it feels like our life is incomplete. Maybe if I had a large and beautiful house, I'd feel happier. Sami nodded and shared, I dream of owning a vast farm where we no longer have to toil as hard as we do now. Dami, the youngest, smiled dreamily. I just wish for a gentle wife who loves me and waits for me to come home. Each had their own dream, their own definition of happiness, yet all were searching for something they themselves could not fully understand, a true sense of wholeness and inner peace. Though Roshan, Sami, and Dami lived and worked together, each harbored their own private dream of happiness, dreams that seemed simple but were deeply rooted in yearning. Roshan, the eldest, longed to live in a spacious, comfortable home. To him, a house wasn't just a shelter, but a symbol of stability, status, and success. He believed that only when he had a beautiful home would he feel complete. Sami, the second brother, dreamed of owning a vast, fertile farm full of lush greenery and abundant crops. His joy came from the idea of owning land, living in harmony with nature, and not having to worry about daily needs. He envisioned waking up each day among green fields, free and at peace. Dami, the youngest, had a heart full of emotion. His greatest dream was to find a loving, gentle wife who would wait for him every day. To Dami, happiness was warmth and companionship in love. Three different people, three different dreams, but they all believed the same thing. Only by achieving their dreams could they find true happiness in life. One afternoon, while returning from the forest after a long day of chopping wood, the three brothers saw an elderly man sitting by the roadside. He looked tired, his white hair tangled, and his back bent under the weight of a large basket of apples. Without hesitation, the brothers stopped, put down their bundles of wood, and approached him with concern in their eyes. Sir, let us help you carry that basket home, Roshan offered. The old man smiled weakly and nodded in gratitude. Taking turns, they carried the heavy basket, though the road was long and rough. None of them complained. They chatted cheerfully with the old man along the way. When they arrived, he pointed to a small house nestled under a tree and said, "This is my home. Thank you, my sons." As they set the basket down on his porch, a strange but warm feeling settled in their hearts. It was not the joy of achievement or possession, but a serene peace that came from a simple, genuine act of kindness. They had never felt such an emotion before and were surprised that helping a stranger could bring such tranquility. Grateful for their kindness, the old man invited them in for a rest and brewed each of them a cup of hot tea. After chatting for a while, he looked at them fondly and asked, "Tell me, what is your greatest wish in life?" Without holding back, each shared his dream. Roshan of a grand house, Sami of a fertile farm, and Dami of a loving wife. The old man listened intently, then smiled. "Your dreams are not far-fetched. I know someone who can help make them come true. In the town across the forest, there is a wealthy merchant looking for honest and hardworking people to help manage his affairs." Excited, the brothers didn't hesitate. The very next day, they set off for the town. Thanks to their diligence, honesty, and sense of responsibility, they quickly gained the merchant's trust. Roshan was put in charge of trade and eventually saved enough to build his dream house. Sami proved his agricultural skills and was given fertile land. Dami, with his sincere heart, won the love of the merchant's daughter. Everything they had dreamed of had come true, thanks to kindness, opportunity, and tireless effort. At first, their new lives were filled with joy. Their once distant dreams had come true. Roshan now lived in a grand home, Sami owned a vast green farm, and Dami married a gentle and beautiful wife. They thought happiness had finally arrived. But as time passed, that old feeling of emptiness quietly crept back, deeper and more confusing than before. Roshan, though surrounded by luxury, felt strangely lonely. He gradually distanced himself from others, delegated all tasks to his servants, and rarely spoke to anyone. His once vibrant home became silent and cold. Sami, despite his dream farm, was constantly burdened with pressure. He worried about weather, pests, and crop failures, stresses that robbed him of sleep. His joy in farming had become a source of constant anxiety. Dami, too, faced disappointment. Marriage wasn't as he had imagined. His once loving wife now often complained, and the warmth between them faded. The love he once cherished had turned into distance. Despite having everything they had once wished for, they couldn't find true happiness. What they thought was happiness turned out to be a fleeting illusion that couldn't fill the void within their souls. As the feelings of loneliness, stress, and disappointment grew stronger, the three brothers began to question, why do we still feel empty, even though we have everything? Unable to find an answer, they decided to return to the village where they once met the old man, the one who had helped change their lives. Walking along the familiar path now covered in winter leaves, they moved in silence, burdened by questions in their hearts. Finally, after much searching, they found the old man sitting by the fire in his humble home, still as calm as ever. Seeing them, he smiled warmly. "You have returned." Roshan spoke first. "Sir, we've achieved everything we once dreamed of, but why do we still feel empty?" The old man nodded slowly, his eyes thoughtful. "My sons, true happiness doesn't come from how much you own, houses, wealth, or love. It comes from gratitude, from appreciating what you already have." The brothers fell silent. They suddenly realized that all this time they had been chasing dreams without ever pausing to enjoy or be thankful for the lives they had. In that moment, a warm light entered their hearts, a sense of peace, as if they had awakened from a long dream. After that conversation, the brothers returned with a completely new outlook. They no longer carried disappointment or emptiness, but a renewed understanding of happiness. From that day on, instead of endlessly chasing material desires, they began to stop, observe, and cherish what they already had. Roshan no longer let his house be filled with silence. He opened its doors to friends and neighbors, listened to their stories, and shared warm meals. Gradually, his home became filled with laughter and joy. Sami let go of his fears about the harvest. Each morning, he stepped into his fields with gratitude for every patch of soil and every seed he planted. Whether the yield was big or small, he felt joy simply by living close to nature and working with his hands. Dami learned to listen to and appreciate his wife more. He realized that love wasn't about appearances or perfection, but about daily care and shared moments. Their love gradually rekindled. Now they no longer searched for happiness in distant places. With grateful hearts and open minds, they found it in the simple life around them. The story of Roshan, Sami, and Dami closes with a profound lesson that anyone can relate to. For much of their journey, they chased dreams they thought would bring happiness: lavish homes, fertile land, or a perfect partner. Yet, after achieving it all, they still felt a void, still lacked true peace. Only when they returned to their roots and listened to the wise old man did they realize true happiness doesn't lie in grand things or flashy possessions. It lives in everyday moments: the song of birds at dawn, a warm meal with family, or a kind word from a stranger. Most importantly, happiness comes from gratitude, from pausing to appreciate what we already have, no matter how small. We often think happiness only arrives when we achieve something great, but in truth, happiness is always beside us, if only we open our hearts to it. When we are grateful for what is present, every day becomes a precious gift. And in that way, happiness becomes a lifelong companion. You are watching the video on YouTube Tales Unfold.